Greetings! Welcome to the 6th featurette for Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades 2. I'm Anton, game director, and I'm super excited to talk to you about Sandbox gameplay today. It's funny, the first H3VR started off as a pure Sandbox game, and yet I've gotten a surprising number of comments over the past months on our H3VR2 videos about like, is there still going to be a Sandbox? Yes, there is. So I figured it'd be a good thing to go over as a topic. So what have we got for you this week? We're going to start by introducing Vendo, our friendly utility robot. We're going to take a look at item spawning using one of Vendo's built-in applications called Spawner, and talk about saving and loading things in Vendo. We'll talk a bit about how ammo works for guns in Sandbox play and how we've been trying to make the process of like dealing with ammo, spawning ammo, figuring out what ammo goes with the gun you have a better experience. We're going to take a peek at a couple of ballistics tools that you might have seen in a couple of our past videos. We'll take a quick tour of a couple of the Sandbox scenes that we have in process now. And then lastly, we'll take a closer look at a couple of the guns that we've teased over the past couple weeks that are really like perfect Sandbox range plinking guns. A quick preface about what I'm showing you here. It should be obvious, but everything is still a work in progress. Also, when you're looking at Vendo's interface in any of these shots, there are going to be numbers next to folders. Those, just be aware that this whole thing is set up in what's called filming mode in game, which is that we suppress a whole bunch of the objects. So if you're like, oh, they've got exactly 17 of that, or like, oh, they only have 4 of that, like you're not seeing a whole bunch of the objects that are in the game because we don't want to accidentally spoil a bunch of stuff that should be a surprise for later. The item spawner in H3VR2 has gotten a huge upgrade over the sequel. His name is Vendo, and he is our lovable, dumpy utility robot. He's in every Sandbox scene, and he's like your unified interface for play. You can see here there's a top-level app menu in Vendo with Spawner, an app for objects, loadouts, and saving your scenes. High Fiver, our incredibly sophisticated High Five game, truly 2026 contemporary gameplay there. Configure, which has all of your options in it. Wienerpedia, which will be your info codex for the game, various mechanics, and everything you encounter in it. Recycler, which is mostly just a trash chute when you're in Sandbox, but has recycling functionality for extracting resources from objects in our facility game mode. And Chipper, which is for loading software into Vendo, which we'll cover at a later time. Let's talk about item spawning in H3VR2. We've got an app in Vendo called Spawner, and it's got a whole bunch of improvements over the H3VR1 item spawner. Folders can be arbitrarily deep now, so things are way better sorted. All the pages can smooth scroll instead of having to like pay like 3 of 5 and things like that. You get counts for how many objects are in each folder, clearer navigation, easy type filtering. It's amazing what's possible where instead of having your UIs gobbled together by Anton, you actually have someone who's done like decades web development build all of this. Plus, I mean, just it looks so much prettier and less cluttered to use. Item pictures just look... We really wanted using Spawner at every moment to give you the like window shopping brain tinglies that you get while online shopping, you know, because like every moment of using a game should at the very least be engaging. Range saving and loading is back in H3VR2. The Spawner app in Vendo has a clean and simple interface for saving configurations of single objects, whole loadouts that you're wearing, and the layouts of scenes. So you can set up any Sandbox range however you want, and you're just 3 clicks away from it each time you jump into that scene. We put a ton of effort into making ammo better to play with in H3VR2. The Spawner app in Vendo actually has pictures of each kind of ammo and gives you way more information about them than in the prior game. Mass, projectile material, velocity, precision, propellant mass. And for those of you who don't know what like 90% of those things are, or what the units mean, like what is an MOA and all of that, because you don't like read gun encyclopedias on the toilet, all of those fields will hook up into the Wienerpedia app in Vendo. So you'll be able to just hover over or click on various things, and you'll not only get a quick definition about them, but if it's something that's like really relevant to the game, like whether a round like penetrates armor and is good against robots or lights things on fire, that information will be available at your fingertips too. We've also got this wonderful little sub application there where any sort of object that's like laid out on the bench on Vendo can be detected, and you can just have quick buttons for loading a given round that you have open into a magazine or a gun, just making it much more clear as to what is going on and what the various buttons you're pressing actually do. So in our H3VR2 Ballistics featurette, you might have seen a fun tool or two we've been working on. We've got a sort of magical chronograph that senses projectiles that pass through its volume and tells you the velocity, mass, and total energy of that projectile. And yes, you can go into the Configure app in Vendo and change your preferred display units between imperial or metric, whichever is your preference. We've also got these dynamic ballistic boxes. You know, we know tons of you will want to experiment with H3VR2's upgraded ballistics, so we've made a bunch of these panel boxes out of various materials and like thicknesses of materials. They display the last projectile impact that has hit them in space, how much kinetic energy was departed, and the number of hits and or penetrations, because there's 2 panels for each box. It's a great like learning tool for like learning how various sorts of guns are effective relative to others, how effective different ammo types for a specific gun can be. And it's also, of course, great for setting up your own personal virtual ballistics laboratory. We've been working on a whole bunch of sandbox scenes for H3VR2, and I wanted to take a quick peek at 2 of them that if you've been following our shorts, you've probably seen a bunch of clips in so far. The first one is our new version of the sniper range. It's about 300 or so meters long. It's much more spacious than the first game's rendition of this concept. Fun story, the old version of the sniper range actually has a bit too low of a ceiling for certain rounds. Trying to actually hit that 300 meters with a proper zero, you'll actually hit the ceiling. So not a problem this time. And the scene is set up so there are elevated risers every 50 meters for like setting up targets. Whatever distance you want to practice at. For those who want more of an outdoor vibe, we've got a new version of the Dooney range. Folks who have the first game know that I tend to really get into making these serene spaces that I oftentimes describe as like memories of like ray traced Minecraft. That's sort of like sort of cozy, blocky minimalism. It's one of those sorts of things that if you're just like chilling and shooting in VR, I find the most pleasant spaces are ones that have sort of wide open vistas or sort of impactful, you know, architectural spaces above you. I sort of describe it as trying to create a feeling of monumental coziness. So I hope you dig the vibe for these. We've got a bunch of other ones in practice. If you don't want a big sandbox scene, we've got some small ones. We'll be showing them in the next couple weeks. You might have seen our earlier tease of the R1022 in H3VR2. It's our first long gun dedicated plinker that we've gotten up and working. It's got an affixable rail for popping on an optic, and we've implemented a range of mags for it. You know, those terrible little 10 rounders all the way up to 25s and some very stupidly high capacity drums for it. Also, because we have always loved doing the weird ones first instead of the obvious ones, we have got the S2000 in. It's a bit of a cursed looking range toy, but I have always loved it. It does not fold yet, but we will get around to trying to make that work. It's going to be a pain in the butt to do. You will notice though with the bolt handle that it actually responds to collisions. So you can whack it with your hand, you can whack it with a magazine, or you can even bop it against the environment to get the bolt to drop. So that just about does it for Featurette 6. I know this one was a little shorter and a bit late. On a personal note, I have actually been on and off sick since our H3 1.0 release for the 4th. If you're like, wow, that's been a while. Yes, it has. It's been an exhausting while. So apologies for the brevity of the content right now. I'm just trying to survive. So, but either way, thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to follow us on our H3VR2 socials for the very latest news, meme videos, and make sure to like, subscribe, wishlist the game everywhere. I hope you all have yourselves a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you again for another featurette in 2 weeks. Peace.